Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right. So, it's a topic we talked about in the past, which is why I bring it up on this channel. Otherwise, it wouldn't be something I talk too much about. But following up is something I think is cool. Consistency. Talked about the Kendrick Lamar and Drake situation some months ago when it first got started. And essentially, right now, what I read was that Drake wants to sue MMG, a Universal Music Group, for not relying on natural support for Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar's song. Essentially, what Drake's side is alleging is that they used bots and different things for different types of unnatural programming to inflate the numbers and ultimately spread the song around. Which is, to be completely honest with you, exactly what I think happened there. It's a great song, but I think that there was something bigger behind the downfall of Drake, and I think it was pushed by entities above Kendrick Lamar. And I said that from the beginning. So that this lawsuit comes out, it's going to be easy for a lot of people to say, oh, Drake is, just take the L, Drake, this, that, and the third. But I think if you look at how this whole thing went down, it did feel like it was some higher ups looking to push a button on Drake. He had been controlling the market for a long time in the music, and there would be some agenda of some sort, for reasons I don't know, that they were ready to knock him down a peg or bring down his value some. One thing that Drake posted not too long ago that I saw what represented what he said was that he had turned down deals that a lot of people would faint over. That's not something that I think the market wants to continue to see happen. It's essentially what I think is going on here. I don't think music necessarily wants Drake the leverage to turn down deals that everybody else can essentially lose their mind over. And that's too much power for one man in this market, I imagine they're saying. I don't know who he may have angered or what side of what he didn't align with. But it seems like the same people who are always looking to smear somebody are using their same programming, their same platforms to push the downfall and the smearing and the folly of Drake's name. I really believe that. Now, maybe Kendrick Lamar has a legitimate gripe with Drake. Maybe some things happening that we don't know about, whatever, that may have put a battery in Kendrick's back to really get after Drake like he does. But if I'm being honest with you guys, it seemed like he was put up to it. Maybe some promises were made that if he go after Drake in such a way that tears Drake all the way down, that he would be able to see some things come his way that maybe otherwise were not expected to come. I don't know. But, as a West Coast native, I definitely enjoyed this battle and enjoyed seeing Kendrick shine. But I'd be a damn fool in my 40 years of life if I didn't say I see the imprint of those people behind the curtain, so to speak, having everything to do with the downfall of Drake or the dwindling of his value, which is what this ultimately has done. Now he can't demand the same amount of money with deals. Now certain deals can be gotten rid of, dare they say, based on the allegations in the song. A team of people may say, okay, Drake, well, you didn't, according to these allegations, there may be some things in the clauses that may have been broken and breached. If what is being alleged is true, we don't have to pay you all this money, that type of thing. We don't have to keep you at all. We can just rip up this contract entirely and send you in a different direction. And I think that's ultimately what this is about. It's about the humbling of a giant in the market. Because that's really what he is a giant in the market. And in a world where streams Nobody really knows the value of a stream, how much it actually costs for this and that and the third. Music industry is hemorrhaging. And then you got an entity out here who's been at the top of the rap game sales-wise in astronomical spaces that can demand a great deal from companies that other artists just can't demand. If not for him being in place, they would be able to lowball the entire industry, you know what I mean? So that's my theory in the situation. They want him at a much lower value than what he naturally provides. And not only that, but there may have been some cheating going on in regards to his rise. And that might have inflated his value into a space that's not comfortable for the powers that be. So that they lift you up, they tear you down. You know what I mean? That's a real thing too. He complaining about Kendrick using bots, but his people definitely use bots, definitely paid bloggers, definitely did all different types of stuff to inflate his value over the years, to make sure that his music gets played over the years. So if his value is not natural in regards to his rise, and if where he's at is where he's at because of unnatural things, then his teardown only righteously would follow with that same energy. And they built him up to tear him down. They built him up, kept him up there until they wanted him down. And it wouldn't be nothing natural that would otherwise bring him down, because his hype is so in the sky. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, he's a manufactured superstar. No doubt that he has a lot of talent, and he does have a lane where he's able to make his sounds unique. And you know, there's a lot that goes into the Drake talent level, but as far as his hype, I'm not really sure if he's not a manufactured superstar. And that's really what it comes down to. Is he not a manufactured star himself? You know, so that he would call Kendrick out for these practices, when, to be honest with you, I see a lot of organic energy behind both of them, even without the presence of inflated whatever. It may not necessarily be necessary for them to inflate these guys with the genuine love that their music provides their fans, and the massive support that both of them garner, you know, in regards to organic support. Women are always using Drake's songs to highlight a caption on their IGs. They're always using his music, even during the teardown, during the worst of it. You would still go on a pretty girl's IG and see his music played in the background. They never slowed down in that regard. The love that people have for Drake's music and his image hasn't really been knocked off in any way. His image in regards to the streets, his street credibility may have taken somewhat of a hit. And people may associate his name with some very nefarious and illegal, despicable practices, which is horrible indeed. But I don't think that those who use his music organically have lost interest in using his music, so long as he continues to drop what it is they like. I don't think Drake has really got to worry about his career continuing. His value may not be up in the cosmos like he's used to it being, but as far as the organic support, he's already a GOAT. He's already in the cosmos. So even Kendrick in this campaign couldn't knock him off. Not at all. But it did a lot of damage to him, I think, personally. I think it did a lot of damage to his psyche. I think it did a lot of damage to the man. You know what I mean? But I don't think it really did a whole lot to him as it pertains to how he's viewed in the market. I don't think so. I doubt it, based on what I've seen. And you know what I mean? It's one of those situations where I just think that there's a lot of moving parts in regards to the downfall of Drake, and it hasn't necessarily worked, to be honest with you. It may have ruined his image, but not necessarily knocked off him completely. So we'll see what comes next. I don't imagine that he's gonna keep going at it with Kendrick Lamar. I doubt it. But for me to say that his lawsuit concern, that what he's bringing up in the lawsuit holds no merit, I don't actually believe it doesn't. I don't actually believe it doesn't. I think there were big wigs behind the scenes that very much wanted Drake to fall. I really think that. Not just Kendrick Lamar, and whoever supports him. That the industry turned their back on Drake is also telling as well. We know how celebrities are when it comes to things. They will support whatever it is they have in their contract telling them they have to support. You saw so many of them step up and get behind political candidates and stuff like that. That had nothing to do with their intentions as human beings. It had everything to do with their contractual obligations and things that have to do with who they're signed to and who's behind them and what favors have to be done for whom, etc. So when you see them all turn their back on Drake, so to speak, I don't think it's much different than that. In this game, favors are being done, leverage is being kept to keep people in and out of rooms, so to speak. Gatekeeping, and the presence of gatekeeping means that people are going to align. In order to keep that dude out, I'm going to continue to align with whatever the team's intention is to keep this dude out, that kind of thing. It's like, yo, for me to have the leverage to tell somebody you never work again in this city, I and everybody has to agree to align with when one of our people say that somebody can't come in, they can't come in. I don't have a personal problem with anybody they have a problem with. But in order to assure that the gate I want closed stays closed to who I have it closed to, I have to keep the door closed on my end in regards to whoever I'm associated with, keeping the gate closed on them. And when you have 1 million people agreeing to move in that way, you have a system like the music industry. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's so easy to see people turn their backs on one another, because of the presence of the agreement to gatekeep one, whoever. It's like, yeah, I may feel bad for Drake, you know what I mean? But I kept the gate closed on one of my enemies. I don't want them coming through the door. If I betray this, the whole thing falls apart. That kind of thing. If I betray our agreement to gatekeep for one another, there's no gate. And the leverage that I'm holding over somebody else's head falls apart based on that. So it's like the conglomerate of politics keeps everyone honest. The nature of gatekeeping keeps everyone in agreement to move a certain way to assure that the leverage amongst all parties is upheld. And that's the ugly nature of the music business. That's why you see so much garbage in the music business. It's because you got so many people who are willing to kick out real talent for the sake of the overall intention of gatekeeping. And so I think Drake has run into a lot of that. People just, we ain't talking to Drake. So you may be friends with Drake. He may have did a lot for your career, but not nearly as much as who you're contractually signed to now is holding the nature of the gatekeeping over your head. So we agreed that this guy ain't gonna come through the door, and because of it, you're not going to talk to him. You are not going to post any of his music. You are going to turn your back to him. You are going to say no Drake or whatever. You know what I mean? You're going, as one of our artists, uphold our intentions, and as a result, we keep the leverage that we need for all different agreements that this gatekeeping process would otherwise provide. So it's something like that in my mind. That's my speculation on how this thing works. And people will always be fake because of it. They may feel bad about it too, but they ain't about to mess up their situation. They ain't about to mess up who they're contractually aligned with. You know what I mean? So that's what I think is going on with Drake, man. Saw so many artists that used to collaborate with him, people that he gave opportunities to. Now they turning their back on him. Now all of a sudden they all doing songs with Kendrick, all doing videos with Kendrick. Some of his sports friends are doing dancing to the song that's calling him a PDF file. Like that's not a coincidence. Not everybody turned on him individually. It collectively, based on the powers above a lot of these people, of whom they are puppets of, have agreed to stop dealing with this man. You know what I mean? On whatever public level. And so that's what I think is going on there in a lot of situations. And since these sports and media and entertainment cross-brand a lot of times, I can have one of my sports guys not support you if I'm big wig guy behind the scenes, behind the desk. All I gotta do is make a phone call, and suddenly your best sports homie ain't your homie no more. You know what I mean? It's a messed up game, but everybody's agreed to be wealthy within it, and this is how they make it happen. You know, to say everybody gets to be famous and have the tools of bots and paid off media and social media personalities that will prop up your image and back you even if you're wrong type stuff. Like, that is all a controlled entity meant to make and destroy popularity. It just is what it is. And if you're gonna try to be inside of it, or get wealth from it, or get fame from it, you're gonna align with it. you're gonna do exactly what its bigger picture is for your piece in the puzzle. So, yeah, that's what it is, man. That's what I think. And as I look at this whole situation with Drake, I just say, man, you just got too big for your britches. You're worth too much. You're too expensive at this point for the market itself. They don't want you that expensive anymore. That's what I think is going on now. This reign has been too long, too lasting. You know what I mean? That's what it really comes down to. At the top, he's lasted almost 20 years. Controlling hip-hop music almost for 20 years. Like, that becomes extremely expensive. For one artist to have that much leverage, that's too expensive for the market, I think. That's too expensive for a lot of people who want to do deals and pay for him to sell their shoes and stuff like that. It's too expensive. And that's what I think they're ultimately trying to control. So that's my take on it. It's funny, man, because that Kendrick Lamar album is really interesting to me in the sense that, you know, as I told you guys many times, Kendrick Lamar has been on my prayer list for years. And I always tell you that the Lord is always showing me in his own way that my prayers are being heard, or what have you. And I take it somewhere else. I know a lot of you are like, what is he talking about? But those who follow me close enough know this is not a new type of conversation. I've been praying for that dude for years. He's been on my prayer list for years. And what I think is really interesting is just some of the alignment in the sense that, like, obviously my name is BDF44 and his album is 44 minutes exactly. Like, I thought that was really crazy in and of itself, just personally. Not to say that he knows of who I am or anything like that, but it's like, these are the type of things that are aligned. It was something I was thinking about after listening to his album. Last night, as a matter of fact, I went to sleep thinking, like, this album that he just dropped, to me, seems like Kendrick Lamar for dummies. In other words, it's meant to align with the common ear. It's not meant to be too wordy. The beats are meant to draw in a commercial audience while still giving them a bit of what Kendrick is, the substance of the man. Not nearly as deep as he can go, but simplifying what it is that he ultimately brings to the table and putting enough common stuff in there to capture the ears of those who would otherwise listen to him in passing. People who need to hear from him in a way that is relatable to them simplistically. And so that's what I went to sleep last night thinking about, like, this is like Kendrick Lamar for dummies. And then you look at the video that he dropped this morning, the book in his hand said how to be like Kendrick Lamar for dummies. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, what is happening here? And that type of stuff is just like, I see those type of coincidences all over my life in regards to the people that I've put on that list to pray for years. These type of coincidences are constant. When I say constant, constant. And it may not mean nothing to you, but I just tell people, like, if you really want proof that there's something to this prayer thing, that's the type of exercise that is proven to me that there's something to this prayer thing. Something. Maybe it's in your religion, maybe it's not. I don't know what the secret to the universe is. But if you really want to know if there's something to it, these are the type of things that the universe has shown me. And you see enough of this stuff enough times, you start to believe in something greater than yourself. And that's what I will tell people, man. That's what I will tell people. And a lot of people say, these are just coincidences, they don't hold no value, you're overthinking it. Maybe. But when you see it in enough human beings that you consider praying for, you see enough of these little things, you start to get the picture. Like, yo, there's an entity greater than myself that wants me to believe in him or her or however that works. And then from there, continue on the process of trying to better myself through prayer, through intentions greater than that for which is promoted to me in the world. And so that's what I want to tell people, man. We're believers over here, and I've always believed in God. I've always been considered a non-denominational Christian. But as it pertains to this conversation here, the Lord has been showing me stuff through Kendrick Lamar's album that is a language that only the Lord speaks directly to myself, I think. You know what I mean? Like, only to myself. And I believe he'll speak to you that way too if you do the prayer exercise that I have. Take random people and pray for them as much as possible. And see, after a while, you start seeing weird coincidences like this pop up in regards to them. You know, and that's something that's real to me, that I've seen over the course of maybe 5 years now. So yeah, man. As far as the Kendrick Lamar album, I thought it was good. I think there was only like one song or two songs on there that I kind of could skip, to be honest with you. The rest of them I really enjoyed. But as I said, you know, I think it's basically Kendrick Lamar for dummies. I don't think it's meant for his most deep fan base or those who are most intelligent. I don't think so. I think this is for people who are looking for something to listen to as they bump. People who are not really spiritually inclined, you know what I mean? People who are not, you know, secular individuals that don't have too many components to their thinking, to be completely honest with you. I really believe that. He made this album for them. And a lot of them really like the album. And that's exactly what it's supposed to be. I like it better than some of the other albums that I think were really supposed to be deep. I like it better than the last one. I wasn't really a big fan of Damn, even though most people were. I didn't really like Damn that much. The songs that I like on Damn, I like a whole lot. But as far as it being like my favorite Kendrick album, it really wasn't. I didn't really dig it like that. I think my two favorite Kendrick albums were Section 80 and Good Kid, Mad City. Those were the two that I really identified with. And this one's really good too. I like this one more than I like the last two. I really do. So, you know, I'm a fan of his art. I think he's coming out with another album very soon. That's what the word is, that he's probably coming out with an entirely different album. And when you listen to some of the songs that he made coming to Drake, I don't remember exactly the names of them, but like Meet the Grams, and you hear that dark Wu-Tang like sound, you know that he's been in different vibes than what he provided you in this album. This album is aligned with itself, but he went into an entirely different place during the process of his last creative sessions, so to speak. He went into a different space. So I would imagine that the next album is going to kind of mirror some of the darker stuff that most people would consider as boring or too wordy or too thinky. Like, I think that's where he's headed with the next one. That likely probably will drop randomly over the next month and a half or so. I really think that. We'll see what he drops, but I don't think it's going to be commercial. I do not think it's going to be Kendrick for dummies by any stretch of the imagination. And I think it's probably going to be extraordinary, because there are few artists that have come out that have been able to walk the mainstream walk, that have put together better bodies of work consistently than him. I don't think I've seen too many, if any, really. So yeah, that's my take on the Kendrick Lamar album. I really enjoyed it a lot, more than the last two. And but that doesn't mean that I think he was looking to connect with the most spiritual of us all. I don't think so. I do not think so. I think this one was for the streets. I think this is for the dummies. It's for the kids, so to speak. For those who are looking to just vibe with something and didn't vibe with his last two because it was too spiritual, too therapeutic, they need something that can kind of connect with them. This is that. This is that. And I think there's a certain, and I've said this a million times on this channel, I think there's a certain genius to simplifying complicated things. You know, nerds, so to speak, can always provide you the most complex thing and you have to try to decipher it, right? and they walk away and heralded as the most intelligent individuals because they've been able to give you something extremely complicated. But the super geniuses, the one that are really gifted, are the ones who can take those things and simplify it for others. Those who are in the frequency of higher intellect that can still function on the frequency of surface level thinking and simplify things for the masses while still providing the message necessary. And even more so, are able to break down complicated concepts and simplify them so that a child can understand them. Those are the ones that I most respect. People who see the value in simplifying things while understanding the most complex of things. Those are the geniuses in this world, in my opinion. And so Kendrick, I think, has that gift. And he uses it when he wants to. You know what I mean? I think the last album that he came out with was for him, therapy-wise. And, you know, when Drake dropped Heart 6, the diss toward Kendrick, and he brought up the song that Kendrick reflected on his experiences being in his household and, you know, his parents thinking that he had been molested, but he hadn't been. When Drake misunderstood and displayed his misunderstanding for that song, I think somewhere Kendrick felt like he had failed. Not Drake, Kendrick. And it's like, if I dropped something that I thought was really clear to understand, and the biggest star in the world who makes musical hits out of anything he wants to doesn't understand what it is I was trying to display when listening to it in passing, that means I haven't done my job in communicating with the audience that otherwise needs to consume my music. And I think he may have saw Drake as a reflection of the overall misunderstanding that many people may have taken on when listening to his music. That people don't comprehend what his conversation may be correctly. Because when Drake dropped that song, he embarrassed the hell out of himself. But what he exposed is that he didn't comprehend it. Drake's music in that regard was too complex for him to actually understand. He didn't get it. And that may have exposed Drake for being someone who doesn't comprehend on a super level, but it also exposed Drake's a reflection of the people who follow him, which are the masses, the most of us who follow Drake music. So it's like if Drake himself didn't understand what Kendrick was trying to convey, then maybe the need for Kendrick to simplify his music was necessary. And I really, as an artist and as someone who thinks a lot about a lot of things, I feel like Drake probably did Kendrick a favor in expressing to him that, yo, I listened to your song and this is what I took from it. And in taking what he took from it had nothing to do more or less with what he was actually conveying. It made him understand, like, yo, I'm not expressing myself in a way that most people don't get. They don't understand me. I'm too complicated for a lot of people. And so the need to simplify things with this album, I think, directly correlated with the heart and the misunderstanding that Drake had for what Kendrick was saying in the song he was trying to refer to. I really believe that. I think if Drake wouldn't have dropped that Heart 6, I don't think Kendrick probably makes this album for dummies. I don't think so. I do not think so. So that's my take on that. Kendrick is extremely methodical. I think a lot of people who are breaking down the double and triple entendres of the name of his album are on to something. They're not overthinking it. This guy's brain works like that. It does. It really does. I see it in other aspects of what he does too. I think some people may be adding a few notches to it in certain cases, but the majority of what he is trying to convey in a lot of cases, I believe when it comes to Kendrick, has 4 and 5 different meanings. It's a lot of puzzles in what it is that he does. I think his brain works that way. Naturally. He's extremely gifted in that way. So, you know, for a lot of people are saying, oh, you're just overthinking it. Hey, and he don't mean that many things when he names the album. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He most definitely does. And I don't think those puzzles or those entendres come to him very difficultly. I think he probably perceives the world in that under that algorithm, so to speak, all the time. I think he's able to see. That's great. MCs are usually able to see things in the world that align with other things that other people won't pick up, and they're able to convey it in a way that allows for you to undecipher it, so to speak. To decipher it, rather. Not undecipher, that's not a word, but you get what I'm trying to say. Jigga has that gift. Kendrick has it as well. And so, yeah, these are the type of things that are just going through my mind as this album drops. You know what I mean? And I just think Kendrick is extremely, extremely brilliant and spiritually deep individual. But just like he said in the song, he really does love war. he still finds himself trying to align with people that are so far beneath him spiritually. Like he wants to fit in with some of those people he grew up with who don't really have a whole lot to them other than everything else that everybody else say. So like, for example, the title song, GNX, I think it's called GNX. GX, whatever the name of that car came out in 87, the year he was born. Generation X, so it's GNX, I believe that's what it is. I think it has a lot of low frequency energy on it. He's trying to give people opportunities to rap with him, new upcoming artists, but they're not talking about nothing that anybody else ain't talking about. The same old stuff. Kill them up, shoot them up, do this, get money. Like that is such a low frequency for Kendrick Lamar to ever be associated with, in my humble opinion. It's just low. It's not. That's like several notches underneath his intellect. And several notches underneath his talent. And I just feel like the need to always attach to the streets is always going to hold somebody back who's so far into the cosmos as it pertains to their intellect. I felt the same way about a lot of artists that came along the way. It's like you're always trying to keep people who need to be taught something in a space for which they feel like they are empowered around you, because that's what you feel is strong, but that's not real strength. The strength is in you teaching them how to be different, rather than allowing them an opportunity to express that they are not. And the politics of this city is ultimately what drags a guy like Kendrick Lamar into spaces where he has people talking about things that everybody else is talking about on their records, promoting the same old childish, low frequency, self-deteriorating, community deteriorating conversations. And I know he knows it, and I know he hates it, but he has to, he feels, in order to stay connected to the people that most matter to him. But the best thing he can do for those people is to not dig down the dirt with them and the pissing down there with them, but grab them and pull them out of it. But when it comes to contractual circumstances, they, meaning the uppers, the ones who want to tear Drake down, the ones who ultimately want to use Kendrick to do it, are always going to want you to put something on there that deteriorates your community and ultimately promotes the killing of your own people. So that's what I think, man. Half of those features on that album were beneath Drake to even use, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie to you. Those people know damn well they ain't had no business being on no Kendrick Lamar songs. They don't. They don't have no business being there. And I don't think that's something that too many people aren't thinking when they listen to the song. There's a couple songs on there like that. And you're just like, what the hell is this person doing on there? And what is he talking about? Like, he ain't talking about nothing that Kendrick Lamar has been pushing in his music to all of us. He talking about the same old stuff that ultimately we need to overcome. Same old low frequency garbage that ends up killing up half of our youth out here. It's like, that's not what I want to hear from a Pulitzer Prize winner. Even if you are from that neighborhood, even if that's your past, that is not your future. And that you have to continue to connect with those people will drag you down, just like so many who came before you who were supposed to be rising above it, but was to continue to be dragged down by that nonsense. It's the truth, man. The streets have stolen a lot of great from us, with greatness trying to relate to the streets. Streets is a pit that needs to be taught how to be in a higher frequency than itself. It's always a self-destructive pit. And that people are so enamored with its strength is a culture that has betrayed us for generations. It's the God's honest truth. And even the greatest of us can't seem to rise above it enough to say, I'm not dealing with that, and you're going to love me for it. And the streets are going to love me even though I'm not dealing with it. You can't do it. Kendrick just ain't being able to do it. Got to keep connecting with the streets. The frequency of the streets is a toilet, but you got to be down there. I'm personally over it. I'm over it. I guess it's because I'm older than Kendrick, you know what I mean? Get to a point where you just rise above stuff after a while. You think stuff just ain't cute anymore. Streets ain't cute no more, man. Especially when you know it's controlled by the same people who are gatekeeping the music industry, gatekeeping politics. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally. Once you realize that it's all controlled by the same evil entity that wants to colonize the universe with its own poor intentions, then you understand why the streets is not cute and should not be appealed to. It can't be trusted. It's compromised to no end. Nothing good is meant to grow out here. If it does, it's by accident. You know what I'm saying? Seriously. Seriously. It's time we start saying that and meaning it and believing it. And so that's what I got to say, man. I'm not amused by that. But, yeah, that's my whole point of view, man. I would love to see us get to a point where we're not influenced by the cultures that are meant to deteriorate us. Cultures that were invested in by people who hate us to no end, who want us to do nothing more than to make ourselves worthy of our end. You understand what I'm saying to you? Literally that. So, that's pretty much what I got to say, man. Hopefully Kendrick can get that close relationship with God that he also is mentioned in the album that he wants, and overcome these demons that allow him to be used as a weapon against others. They take your talent, your need to be aligned with the streets, and they will point you like a gun at somebody else and pull the trigger. That's exactly what Kendrick needs to be guarding against from here on out. Video 44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.